TBC Anniversary is something people have been waiting for quite some time. People have been asking for a roadmap, a timeline. When is Naxxramas? When is the TBC coming? Because a lot of people like to call Classic the TBC waiting room. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant to this video, because where is it? Now I'm going to break down every single possible date. I've done the math, I've done all the research, and it's honestly much closer than you think, but it's still pretty far. Now right here, when you look at the roadmap for Classic Anniversary, when they first announced it, we can see here just how exciting it looked. But the issue is the dates don't really line up with anything they truly announced. Anniversary is meant to be a 1 year long thing. But for it to be 1 year long, TBC would have to drop this December. And the likelihood of TBC dropping this December is almost zero, because that would mean we would have Naxx for less than 8 weeks into a pre-patch, and then from a pre-patch into TBC launch, all being very, very short-lived and crammed. So the dates have already been wrong from the beginning, right? They've been misaligned, they haven't exactly been exact. And a lot of things on this roadmap have been pushed forward several weeks, even from Mr. Pandaria to things as simple as Blackwing Lair or Encourage. So that brings me towards every single release date so far. Classic Anniversary launched on November 21st, shortly after Warcraft Direct. Then we had Phase 1, which was Molten Core and Nyx's Lair on December 12th, 2024. But then Phase 2 came out on January 9th, and that was Diamond, the PvP systems, world bosses, and all that stuff. Phase 3 is when we got Blackwing Lair, which was the first new raid tier since Molten Core's launch. Now keep in mind, between Molten Core launching on December 12th to Blackwing Lair launching on March 20th, it was 14 weeks of Molten Core and Nyxia. Just over 3.5 months, or just about exactly 3.5 months. Now that's not a super long time considering official Class 2019, it was 5 months of Molten Core. But that's effectively what everybody went with the mindset of it's gonna be 12 weeks to 14 weeks, give or take. That seemed realistic and kept in time of that launch frame to have the game finished. But see, that's where shit got finicky, because going from Blackwing Lair to Encourage was 16 weeks. Now, we did get ZG and, like I said, Diamond, these in-between phases happening around that time frame. So now we look at the exact timeline so far. As I said, 14 weeks, 16 weeks, and as of right now, 10 total weeks of AQ40. And as I said, there were the 2 unique mini phases in between, dragging out the first 2 phases. For Molten Core, that was the PvP system, and for Blackwing Lair, that was ZG. AQ40 and Naxx don't have that in between them. There is no in-between mini phase to drag things out, which means that realistically, in 2 weeks' time, we should be getting the Naxxramas announcement or the Naxxramas stealth drop. But that is the minimum, 2 more weeks. There is a technical reality where we could get 6 weeks more of AQ40 raiding. And based on the player population numbers, it looks like AQ40 is really, really healthy. As you can see here, there's about 78,000 people playing AQ40 so far. The numbers have barely dropped from about 80k to about 84k down to about 78,000, and it's maintained that. The people playing Anniversary enjoy Anniversary. The TBC waiting room crowd, as big as it is, doesn't really impact the Anniversary/era crowd who are loving and enjoying these moments in these raids. Now, it could just be a lot of people preparing for TBC and enjoying these raids as well, so I don't really speak about exactly who is who and what is playing right now. But 78,000 people consecutively with no major ups or down. Mr. Pandara's launch didn't impact this whatsoever. People kept playing as is with no changes. So now we're going to look at the Naxxramas potential release dates. Assuming we get 12 weeks of AQ, Naxx would drop on October 2nd. Assuming we get 14 weeks of AQ, we are looking at an October 16th Naxxramas. Assuming we get 16 weeks of AQ, I'ma be real, it doesn't matter who you are, nobody wants 16 weeks of Encourage. Nobody likes Cthulhu and his big ass eye that much. But if it is going to be 16 weeks, you're looking at an October 30th Naxxramas. Now, that number seemed a little ludicrous and honestly a little disappointing if that is the case. If it takes 16 full weeks, we're effectively not getting TBC until early next year. And we're just being real at this point, it's going to be early next year. That timeline of Anniversary being a singular year long no longer exists. The only way that exists is if AQ effectively ends tomorrow, Naxx drops next week, Naxx is only 8 weeks long, TBC pre-patch is only 3 weeks long, Then we get TBC this year in a reasonable time frame. But they're not going to just suddenly stealth, rush, and drop everything all at once. That livelihood, that reality is a whole different reality because it does not exist in this one. Now, these dates right here, this 12, 14, 16 week Naxx is based off of the October 16th Naxx drop, right? I'm assuming it's going to take about 14 weeks. I'm going in the middle of the pack. So these dates could be 2 weeks off in either direction. But October 16th seemed like the best bet, the safest bet in regard to the math that I'm doing. But assuming it's a 12-week Naxxramas, TBC pre-patch will drop January 8th. Assuming it's a 14-week Naxxramas, TBC pre-patch will drop January 22nd. And assuming we get 16 weeks of Naxxramas, TBC pre-patch will drop February 5th. This is reasonable. 12 weeks of Naxxramas building into the TBC pre-patch is going to be 2 to 4 weeks, realistically probably 2 or 3 weeks. They typically have kept pre-patches shorter and we're not really getting 4-week or 6-week pre-patches. The average date is about 2 to 3 weeks for any given pre-patch for the classic launches for the most part. Now, this is where things get a bit tricky because we know Ahn'Qiraj is going to last a while, right? At a bare minimum 12 weeks. But Naxxramas could last a full 16 weeks. At this point, it would not be super surprising if that was the case. I truly hope that it's only about 12 to 14 weeks. 12 weeks of Naxxramas is fun and all. And even right now, I'm personally taking a break from Anniversary. I'm not really playing or leveling or doing anything like that. I'm excited for TBC Anniversary and I'm going to come play. So I don't want the Anniversary crowd, if they're having fun, if the numbers back it up and prove that the Anniversary crowd want these long raid tiers, let them have it. As much as the TBC waiting room crowd is big and there, the Anniversary player base is playing and enjoying that world and game. I don't want them to lose on what they're doing for the TBC waiting room crowd to have what they're having, or what they're waiting for in this context. Which brings us on to the final point, the final thing here, and the final assumption is pre-patch is 2 weeks long. TBC is based off pre-patch being 2 weeks long, is realistically dropping on January 27th, February 10th, or February 24th. Now keep in mind, new expansions almost always drop on a Tuesday, so it could technically be the 20th of January, the 3rd of February, etc. in that regards, because I was pushing to the next week afterwards just to give it some extra time there, because it has to be a Tuesday. It almost always is a Tuesday. But like I said, going back, if it is 12 weeks of Naxx, this will be 2 weeks earlier. If it's 16 weeks, it'll be 2 weeks later. If AQ is not 14 weeks, in AQ 40 is 12 weeks long, so 2 weeks from now instead, this is going to be very early January instead. It could even be late December. Again, we don't have a roadmap. We don't have a timeline. Everybody's over here estimating and guesstimating when things are coming, when we're going to get to play them, when we're going to get to dive into them, when we're going to get to enjoy and experience TBC. And the issue is, it's not just us waiting, it's also the Anniversary crowd. They don't even know when they're getting Naxxramas. The fact that people are playing this ginormous guessing game of what's coming, when's coming, who's coming, is honestly a bit frustrating because I get it, Classic Plus, BlizzCon, next year, whoop-de-doo, it's going to be amazing, I'm really hyped for it. But in the meantime, the people playing Classic don't have a timeline. When is Throne of Thunder for Mr. Pandaria? When are the next few phases coming? We don't learn about any of the new timelines for any expansion in the Classic sphere till effectively 2 weeks before it drops. We know things are coming, but we never have a date or a time frame of when to expect it. The fact that anybody's guess could be correct, a 12-week versus 16-week, and both people are technically correct because of Schrodinger's waiting room. When you open that box, a date could be anything. And as a Classic player, it's been honestly kind of frustrating, and I get it with this lawsuit happening, media blackout, effectively only approved communication. And it looks like the Classic team doesn't really have that marketing budget or balance right now because I know Microsoft fired pretty much everybody on the social media team. But I do wish we had some timelines and dates of what's coming. Honestly, pretty soon it would be nice. But if you like this video, like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below, when do you think TBC Anniversary is dropping? I'm genuinely curious. Regardless, have a good day. Ebonheart out. Peace. Also be a dedicated hater. Don't half-ass your hatred. Be creative.